Hi, thank you so much for this documentary. It's a very interesting and, I would say, thought-provoking documentary. And I should say that it's made by Julia Gudvenige and Florian Koffler. Yes, and it's Austrian and Italian production.
Co-production.
Yes, and you're one of the Italian
Co-producers.
Yes, exactly. So I will dive right into it as we don't have so much time, and in the end you will have the possibility to also ask questions. So, could you tell us how this documentary came about?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me here, for having the film, to host in the film. It's a great opportunity for such independent documentaries to be shown a bit all over. So, Julia and Florian are two documentary filmmakers from Meran, Südtirol, where Albolina Film also is based. So it's this little region on the border with Austria, north of Italy, and they live in Austria. And in that area of Italy, but also Austria and Germany, if you want to go on holiday, usually you go to the Adriatic coast. That's a must. And Julia Florian had these memories when they were kids, to go to Rimini, Riccione, Jesolo, and but they felt somehow, and that was during COVID pandemic. They just had a kid as well, because they also are a couple in life, also apart from work. So they started to, they wanted to explore the memories, but now with the point of view as documentary filmmakers. So that's how the idea started. And the previous documentary, it's a documentary on security work in the Alps. So all the people that are working on very difficult jobs to make safe life and tourism in the Alps. That was the first documentary. And so the second one, they want us still to keep on the workers' point of view, but move to a mass tourism sort of landscape.
Yeah, and thinking about the workers then, I understand that Julia and Florian, they were filming for several months.
Yeah.
So how was their relationship to the workers during this time, and have they seen the documentary also?
Yeah. The response from the people has been quite amazing, actually. Julia and Florian have particular approach. They work as a duo, so Julia is taking care of the photography, Florian is working on the sound, and the two together. So they prefer not to have too much of infrastructure, and they like to spend time with the people. It's another documentary with interviews or with in-depth, of individualities, or but they spent from March to October 21 as development across the Adriatic coast, like I can think 7, 8 locations, meeting people. And also, like, not shooting anything, so going there for a week and just to see and talk to people. And then the year later, 2022, from April to October, in different moments, of course, they went there and they shoot. So the response from the workers, which has been, like, you see the list at the end, it's a huge one, has been really, really amazing, because it's it's a sort of relationship that they built, and the workers felt really so. Like 4 days ago, we had the premiere in Italy of the film at the Festival dei Popoli, which actually last night we had good news that we won as the best Italian documentary in competition. So it's and there were some of the workers were in the cinemas. And it was pretty emotional, very interesting to.
And I have to do a follow-up question on that, because in the end of the documentary you see, or towards the end at least, there are some demonstrations. Are there any? Has it become better for them, or is it kind of same?
No, I think on that COVID pandemic was supposed. It's an interesting, I think, also film. I mean, there are very different angles in which we can look at, and maybe I'm curious to know your point of views. But we thought that with the pandemic, we could do things better in all kind of fields of life, and in tourism as well, and especially in Italy, because it was already becoming too much. I come from Venice. So it's probably the touristic city in the world, and I know how it has been going on in the last 20 years, and it's cool that, you know, and it's interesting and it's important for the industry that tourists come, but then there's been some regulations for the tourists and also for the workers. So I don't think much change, especially for seasonal workers. It's quite because I'm not an expert on labor.
No, of course, I just.
But the thing I think is simple, is common sense. There's a huge demand for work. Yeah. So the ones who make the rules can have someone else coming. Yeah.
But thinking about the resort a little bit, I think we have recently seen in a lot of media depictions of the resort. I'm thinking of productions like White Lotus, and also Ruben Östlund's Tourist and Triangle of Sadness. I feel like there's a red thread that the resort is kind of the eye of the resort is there. So what makes the resort such an interesting subject, you think?
Well, I think it as an artificial landscape, Julia and Florian wanted to bring the viewer with a little bit of irony as well, to try to understand. Yeah, of course, that is all an illusion, and which kind of it's a good one as well, because it's what they sell us, you know, to go on vacation. It's your 2 weeks. You have been working all year, and finally, you know, you can, if you're privileged enough also to afford a vacation, let's say, you have some expectations, but of course we are not well aware maybe of the machine that is behind that. So on their approach to documentary is, as you see, very observational, and what I really loved about the film is that it put you in a loop, and little by little, I mean, the film could go on. I think the first cut was like 3 hours or something. Many things have been cut, so you can enter this loop, and maybe when you watch, but maybe I'm curious to know what the audience felt. It's like you have a little bit of time to think about, because everybody somehow has been on vacation, and you can relate. And maybe that's, I mean, to me there was the creepy feeling, you know, that you know very well what you're looking at, and you recognize it also, but it feels a little bit
Definitely, yeah.
yeah, creepy or
Yeah.
weird or
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, I was telling you before
yeah.
that I think the documentary shows very well how the resort in different ways is trying to create a very particular experience for the visitors. I'm thinking about the scene in the beginning with the bulldozers, for instance, that is preparing the beach for the visitors. Yeah, I mean, maybe you want to expand a bit on that.
Yeah, I mean, also they don't. They are not focusing. I mean, the thing is that I don't know if anybody of you here have been in the Adriatic coast, but we're not talking about one resort. We're talking about 100 kilometers of resorts. So historically, that part of Italy has been also built, I would say, sort of as an incubator of mass tourism after the Second World War, where in the 70s you had a middle class or working class that was demanding to go on vacation, and so they started building that. The second wave of that are the resort on the Red Sea and so on, which actually were done by Italian entrepreneurs that were copying the Adriatic coast kind of model, but to Sharm el Sheikh or Hurghada and so on. You can look up in internet, and I don't remember the name of the guy, but he did exactly that. So we're talking about an artificial landscape that it's huge, like 100 kilometers, and it's artificial as much as the idea of the vacation that they want to sell it. So I think more on that, the film wanted actually to put you really on the point of view of the workers, to maybe empathize or maybe just try to be aware of. I mean, there is no. It doesn't go too social, the film, let's say, or too critical or into conflicts. Because the aesthetic dispositive that they try to build, the filmmakers are a little bit more on the contemplative sort of approach.
Yeah, and it helps with the long shots also, I think. But I thought we would open up for audience questions. Yes, in the middle.
So, very great.
Thank you.
And the whole thing I noticed 3 birds. Just thinking about the biodiversity of the area, like it was striking that there was no other animals apart from well, that's something that was coming from the surface, very few animals.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a total artificial landscape. I mean, in between those huge beaches, there are some natural parks and reserves, which they've been getting smaller and smaller because without going into that, but in Italy there is a law where the state give to private people the use of the beaches, so which is a little bit weird, and is like for 99 years, something like that. So I'm not saying they can do whatever they want, but also they can expand and so on. So the lack of any animals or wild life from that coast has been erased. It's just like on the delta of the Po River, which is a little bit before of Rimini Riccione, so There is a natural reserve, but it's very, very small. And the point, they couldn't build the beaches there because it's a lagoon, so they couldn't, you know, there's no ground. So, but if they could, I think they would be also there, and they would make a straight beach there. So it's a pretty wild as well in terms of law and administrative
infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it's great documentary, so I can relate a lot from, I came from Brazil, and but my question is about the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And sometimes it sounds that the music, the soundtrack is playing a role in itself, actually, making us feel how sometimes creepy or even ridiculous I think is vacation model. But also, sometimes I felt that it builds up, it's so very somber, it builds up for something bad that is about to happen, right? So I would like to do this, what was the point of view of creation? It was choosing to build up of something bad is going to happen, or it's more on the side of the put us in our place, right? About how ridiculous sometimes it is.
Yeah, okay. So the filmmakers also for the previous films start cutting the film, editing the film with the composer. So it's the work with the composer started at very, very early stages of the editing, and influence it as well a lot. So there is a lot of conversations, let's say, between the composer and then this time with Michaela Gordillo. Well, I think it's a mix between what you are saying, in a sense. Also speaking recently with a composer where we were in Vienna at the premiere in Austria, she was saying that for her the task of the music here was to create a suspension somehow on the viewer, and which is probably this thing you're saying about the tension that something is going to happen. It's a very subtle, I have to say. I mean, the music's not too much on your face in this film. It's so I would say that the music tries to expand even more these moments that are coming in the film, and it's probably try to emphasize this sort of weirdness that you find as well, like at the very big, the opening that you were saying, you know, of the. It's, I mean, I've watched the film 25 times maybe, also in the cinema and so on. So I'm always wondering what the people are thinking at the beginning, because you realize just a little bit later, you know, that they are actually building the beach from scratch every March with the sand from the sea. If you don't know it, or if you're not from there, you don't maybe get it immediately. And the music has this sort of pulsing kind of, so that creates a bit this suspension, I would say, and a bit probably influenced the view. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered, but I tried.
We have a bit tight schedule. There's a screening going on in 5 minutes. So I think, unfortunately, we have to stop here. But maybe if you have any questions, you can.
I'd be very happy you find me here outside.
Yeah. So thank you very much for coming, and thank you, Roberto.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.